The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find. The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style.
Coach Dave Marean, it's great to have you on the Big H Podcast. It's been a hard time trying to get you tied down because you've been so busy with Wayne. Tell me a little bit about Wayne football this year and what you do during the day.
Well, thanks. First of all, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time. And it's an honor with all the people you've had. I'm just a small peon, so this is great. No, Wayne, this year we ended up 6-3. We went the independent route this year just because we felt it was good for our program. 17 teams were in it, and only 4 make the playoffs. We were one of 4, which was great. It was exciting. We were undefeated at home, lost in the semifinals to the team that ended up winning it all. But it was overall a great experience for the kids, and we opened a brand new stadium. So it was a lot of great firsts this year, which was awesome.
So the independent route, you said 17 schools. Who are the other 3 schools that were in the playoffs?
So it was Penn Yan, Paul Mac, us, and Lions.
Okay.
Yep.
And the winner was?
Penn Yan, Dundee. So they're merged together. Yep.
Okay. And the new stadium you got going?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough in a project. Anthony Carson, our athletic director, just did an unbelievable job on working with all the coaches that were involved as far as the stadium. And we had a brand new stadium put in where our practice fields were. And when they were digging up our old field, which is a grass field, they're going to redrain it. They realized it was going to cost them less to turf that. So we actually got 2 turf fields, a brand new track. So the stadium's unbelievable. The digital scoreboard is out of this world. It was just a real cool environment for the kids.
Do they have one of those scoreboards where they got videos on it and everything?
Awesome. Yeah, it was. We had one of the students did something for our seniors because I want to make it powerful for the seniors. So we did separate little videos for them. So on senior night, we had those videos up rolling. Mr. Carson did an unbelievable job. Like on Halloween, he had a guy with a Wayne jacket with Michael Myers' face, and he said "last seen in Ontario, New York," because we were playing the night before Halloween. So it was really cool. It could be real creative. Riley Wheaton, who's our kind of your guy, you like on the scoreboard with the announcing and everything, really gets into it. Has the music, and yeah, it's pretty cool. You feel like you're, especially now they have this thing I believe is called Stadium Music, where you can type in what it is, and you feel like you're at something bigger than a high school game. Where it says the welcome Newark or welcome whatever team, please follow the Section 5 rules and all this. Concession stands will be open. And it's, that's that professional voice that's built in. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cool, especially having been at the program when we started and the scoreboard was our booster club president running up and down with a flip phys ed chart for the scoreboard. So it's come a long ways.
Have you always been the varsity head coach there, or did you work your way up?
Yeah, so I worked my way up. We started varsity in 98. We went JV in 96. We had 2 years JV, then varsity in 98. Coach Don Vito started the program. 2003, Scott Freshlog took it over for a year, a wrestling coach, and then I took it over in 2004. Okay. So,
over the years, what success have you had? Like, I know a couple of years ago, I remember reading a lot about some awesome players.
Yeah, it's been great. We had never made it to sectionals until I took over, and in my second year, we made sectionals. We've had 3 league titles. We almost had 4 this year. Missed out just on 1. We made it to sectional finals twice. Had great experience team-wise. A lot of players going Division 1, Division 2. Braden Snelovic, one of our quarterbacks who ended up playing at Albany, ended up finishing at Utica, broke all the records at Utica, took him to the farthest ever, and now he's actually their quarterback coach and on staff there at college. So it's kind of neat, and he's actually the Section 5 recruiter.
Okay.
So now he's on the other side of the table, and I remember everybody coming to see him. Now he's coming to see all our kids, so it's pretty special.
Oh, that's awesome. Now you went from you coach boys, and then last year you put your hat in and you coached the second season of the flag football at Hilton. What was that like, going from coaching the boys team to a new sport, basically with flag football and coaching girls?
Unbelievable experience. I learned to appreciate how hard the girls want to be coached. My big thing was, and I know they didn't want to be treated any differently. And I tell my boys all the time, they're never late and they never have to talk back or question anything. They want to learn. And, if you tell them a certain route or something, they all right, now how is this? They want to learn. They want to get better. And the growth, because they haven't played it, there's no bad habits. So the growth from week one, we lost the first game, we tied, and then we won 6 straight. And it was a lot to, Coach Terry that did a great job with it too. But just watching the girls grow in it, and how they just bought into kind of what I was selling, we talked about I've always used the same philosophy no matter what sport I do, because it's always been to me about using the tool of the sport you're teaching to help develop them into young men and young women. And the thing I felt kind of proud to be a part of it was the fact that the women for the first time actually are doing something before men are. And so we brought in a lot of women role models to speak to the girls so they could see that. Because I think that's something that's important, that, it's at times it is a man-driven world, and it's nice to have them in the forefront. The Buffalo Bills were full tilt in their support, and all the NFL teams have been. It's just an unbelievable experience. I never thought I'd be coaching my daughter at my alumni at Cortland in the summer. We went up there for a 7-on-7 tournament.
Okay.
And, I coached Andrew obviously in the youth sport, but who would have thought it would be my daughter at a varsity level football. And I never thought I'd be playing music at practice, but it's a whole different world. The girls love it. And they have a better playlist than me. So
do you give them time to go to their cell phones too?
I do. I said, but it stays over there next to the speaker.
You mentioned it's good to bring in female role models. Can you want to tell me some of the women that you brought in to talk to the girls?
Yeah, I brought Karen in from Primetime. I think she's very professional. I think she's right on the edge of the cusp of what it takes to be a women leader. And she jumped on it in a heartbeat to do it. We brought in, oh gosh, now you're going to freeze my...
Well, you could think Karen Iglesia, and she's a ball. Well, she's all over the place too, and when she's in the house.
Oh, she's awesome, and it was great because we do have young ladies of all different races on our team, and it's good for them to see that, because sometimes people don't get out of their shell of seeing what other people are, and it's just it's been great. I think it's been good for our girls.
I do. I just, maybe some of those names will come later to you, but I think it's really, really positive for you to have.
Yes.
I remember a friend of mine, he used to always say, like, I would wish that even the referees and the officials for female games were also female too. I remember the first season you did a lot of the down markers over there at home.
Right.
What did you notice about the game when you were just observing the game from doing the down markers?
Yeah, it was funny because, as a coach, I think sometimes you watch sports through a different lens than you do as a parent sometimes. Obviously, I was there to support the girls there because Megan was involved. But what I got to notice quickly is how excited the girls and the energy and how they understand how to balance having fun and dancing when there's a timeout to the music, but then they're locked in as soon as the play is out there. So it was really, really, and then getting to understand the X's and O's and how it's different than the actual tackle game of football.
Now you bring up the X's and O's for some viewers here that never seen a flag football game. Talk about the length of the field, the width of the field, downs, pulls. Talk a
Right.
little
So
about that.
yeah, so it's a shorter field, so it's 80 yards in length. There's no kickoff. You start at a zone, which is the 20-yard line, and then you have to get 20 yards to get a first down. And so because of that, I learned pretty quickly you don't want to start with the ball. You want to defer to the second half because it's one of those tough sports to try to dink and dunk and get short little catches. You're either a big player or you're not. And then when you go to punt, you have to declare your punt. There's no, now there's returns, but you couldn't block a punt. You had to stay within 5 yards. But literally everything else besides the rules of the first down, everything else is literally just like the game of football up until the point that they go grab the flags. Like we teach them how to tackle exactly, or teach them how to pull flags exactly how we teach tackling it. You're breaking down as you get close. You're lowering your hips. You're at the hips, and it's just pulling the flags. The catching and throwing and running are all similar, and that's what was kind of neat because the girls felt like they were even more connected with the boys' game too.
And you said you had Coach Terry Gilmore.
Yep.
Okay. So you worked the offense, correct?
Yes.
And then talk to me a little bit about Coach Gilmore. I used to coach with him at modified level.
Oh, he's awesome. I tell you, he guided me through the pros and cons and what he dealt with because he really started the program the year before. And it was in a different setting. It was more of a club level because there was a lot of people that were allowed to play multiple sports. So we had a lot more kids. It was new to everybody. And because of that, he was able to guide me in things that really helped from a managerial standpoint. But his mindset for the defense was awesome. And I think he appreciated it too, because all he had to worry about was the defense.
Right.
And then I worried about the offense. And the thing I loved about him is his philosophy is just like mine, that we're both competitive. We both hate to lose, but it's about winning by developing these girls into women through the game of football. And so when we would have film sessions, like we had them watching huddle and we would have film session before practice, we'd go into do our lifting with the strength coach. So we were both on the same page, where we never had to second guess each other. And girls feed off that. They understand that, hey, look at the bond that they have and how they're getting along. Not to mention the knowledge of the game he brings was awesome. And his demeanor and how he delivers a firm direction, as well as how he delivers, I'm here for you if I need you, is awesome. It's awesome.
So you said you had like a 6-game winning streak. Talk to me a little bit about that win streak. What was so great about it and what led to it?
Yeah, what was great about it is watching the girls develop confidence. I remember when we came in to do film session after the first game, we played Webster Thomas and they blew us out. They were very impressive. They were in the finals the year before. They returned a lot of the girls, and we knew had our hands full. I don't know if the girls knew that, and the girls were still learning my offensive system and the defensive system. It might have been a little bit different. We tied the second game, but I remember when we came in to film, and even my daughter told me, some of them saying that kids in the hallways were saying, "You guys aren't good. You guys aren't good." And I said, "Listen, I want you to remember. Don't forget that. Use that as you drive, because guess what? When we start winning, they're going to be the same ones that are going to turn back." So all of a sudden we get 3 wins, 4 wins. And one of the girls comes up and goes, "Coach, you're right."
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't about me being right. It's just, I've been around it long enough to know that people will go with the flow.
Right.
It's easy to hammer somebody who's down.
Right.
It's easy to jump on the wagon when somebody's good. And you could see the crowd difference. And we had senior night this year with it. It was exciting. And we got to the point where the officials, the other coaches were respecting what these girls were doing and how they were, and the girls just, their confidence just kept growing and growing and growing. And we started adding more plays and different designs, things, and you could see that they were able to handle those different things. It was really, really cool to see that growth and to see it on their faces. And, at the end of the year when we talked and Matt, I mean, we were 30 seconds away from winning that playoff game. But, prior to that, we go against Arcadia, who ended up being in the finals. And I remember Elena Dinopoli, dropping a pass. And I said, "Listen, when you get back on defense, just pick the first pass." She picks the next pass, scores. And that was kind of the game winner. And Miss Feedy caught the 2-point, and we ended up beating them, and nobody expected. And I think that was a nice way to end the regular season. But it was awesome to see the growth. It really was.
And then the playoff game, you played who?
We played Arcadia just the way it fell. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And they got you in that game?
Yeah, we got up on them. It literally almost was a mirror image of they scored at the end instead of us scoring at the end. So,
okay.
And they had great athletes, but our girls battled every game. And at the end, I always know if there's an impact of the kids, and especially because it was so new and some of the girls had never played before.
Mm-hmm.
As sad as it was kind of proud to see the emotion when they realized they were done for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the seniors that were on the team, like, they were emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that made Coach Gilmore and I realize, we did our job. We gave them a great experience, and, they're part of history, part of a team that's, won some games, as well as part of a team that was on the team in the first 2 seasons. So pretty cool.
Well, and then when they get emotional like that, it shows just how deeply that they cared about it. Talk a little bit about some of the players that were seniors last year, and then maybe some of the kids you got coming back this year.
Yeah, we only had 4 seniors, and 2 were foreign exchange students.
Okay.
And it was really cool to see them play and absorb the game, a game they never even saw, let alone never play. And they made some great plays. We had our center, Miss Tracy. She never played. Coach is a great recruiter. He got her to come out and Miss Feedy to come out, and she was a stud. Like, she could. First of all, the snapping piece is a challenge, as it is, because we were going back and forth if you snap between the legs or side, and she would not only snap, but everybody's eligible. So she started to be a big weapon for us. And not only was she catching it, she was making moves that she started laughing as she's making the moves because she didn't realize she could do it. So it was really, really cool. We have 90% of our girls are coming back.
That's great.
Which is awesome. So, and we were able to do a lot of things this summer that they hadn't done. We did our own camp. We did a youth camp. We did a 7-on-7 tournament, and talk about the growth of this game. A friend of mine I got to know through my camps got a bunch of donors, and they were able to donate $10,000 to the 8 teams that were in the tournament, and we just split it up based on how they finished. So, like, Webster was there, and they won it. They got $4,900 donated to their program, which is awesome. Our girls were able to get $1,100 donated to the program just for being in the tournament, which is awesome because the program's starting and everybody's trying to develop them. And, you can get some of those extra things like running out a turf facility because you're starting to spring and there's snow going sideways. Right. But we did that. We did a 7-on-7 in Cortland. So did a lot of things. And to see the youth camp that we did was awesome. And I don't think our girls realize how impactful they were on these little girls. And they're like, Coach, like, they were ecstatic to be here. I said, yeah, they're looking up to you. Like, you're a pro to them. And I said, and now next year when you have a game, guess who's going to come watch? They are. And the emails that we got were unbelievable. And Coach Gilmore and I were going to be more proud of the girls and how they helped run the camp and gave back. And, it's a win-win, right? You give back to the girls. Now, hopefully that helps to recruit. But I think more important, it makes them appreciate the game more because they see it through, even though they don't have a face mask, it sees it from the other side of the face mask, if you will, to learn the game, play the game a little bit more because now you're teaching it. So, yeah, it was fun. We always ended the game with they got to draft their players. So, they draft this player and this player, and now they're the quarterback for their team. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So
you mentioned you lost 4 seniors then. Like, what were some of your quarterback, receivers, running back? Like, tell me something about your players last year.
Yeah, so Elaine DiNapoli, heck of a player. She defensively, offensively, I mean, even Coach Arcadia says, we are not going to throw at her. She was really special. Miss Feedy was out there, and we had her at center. We had her at guard. And it's kind of funny, right? The names of the positions, a little bit. Everybody's a receiver, but you kind of got to name them a position.
Right.
Let's see. Paige Dean played quarterback for us. She played a little running back at the end. Extremely fast. Really grew into the quarterback position. for us. Ms. Cosman, she's going to be knock on wood. Hopefully she heals healthy. I know she actually went to a combine this summer and unfortunately got hurt. But she came on. She wasn't sure she was going to play because basketball did so well last year. It was a long season. I said, just take it off. And in 2 weeks, if you want to come, give me a call. And she came in her first game in. She had, I think, 2 or 3 interceptions on defense. And she groomed into kind of playing receiver and playing quarterback for us. She's going to be a big weapon. Haley McConnell's a big weapon for us on both sides. Haley had a pick 6 for us on defense. And that was a special moment. Coach Gilmore and I were talking about and showing film the next day. We had talked about a route that this girl ran on Fairport, and it was the back of the backfield. And when she comes out, you've got to spy her and look for the pass. And she spied her, picked it, and then took it to the house. So that was a cool moment for the girls to understand, like, wow, what we go on film really transfers to the field. So yeah, there's so many girls. I'm excited about the girls that are coming back.
How many kids do you think you'll have on your roster this year? Have you had a preseason meeting? I don't even know.
We haven't. I'm going to wait until probably either just before Christmas break or after Christmas break. I talked to some girls. I just met with Haley McConnell because she's our treasurer and our student accountant. Talked about, we want to get some meeting, and our best recruiters are the girls, right? And it's a challenge for me because I'm not in the district. So Terry does a great job with that. But I reached out to Coach Pilato because what I started to realize, the majority of the teams we go against, their best players are soccer players. And it really is a great off-season training. So it's a fine line because the travel is so big in soccer. In the spring, they're usually busy. But trying to get more of those girls involved, I'm really pushing with the district, and there's a possibility, especially the Bills just reached out to all Section 5 coaches to fill out a survey in regards to a possible grant to help modified programs. Nice. So I'm hoping that we can get modified A, which then we could have a 7, 8, 9 team, and then a 10, 11, 12.
Oh, great.
Which would be great because we had some girls that were skilled that probably didn't see as much time as they would like because they were freshmen, but they would have been studs or studettes, I guess, if you would, on a modified A program. So I suspect, it's that fine line, especially something's new. Football has always been a sport where you don't cut, as long as you're not a behavior problem. And this is so new, so I want to give everybody experience, and it's that fine line because you're not 11 on 11. Right. So 22 means there's a bunch of people sitting.
Right.
So last year we were going back and forth that maybe 25 would be the max, and we had that number, and then we had a young lady that felt like it was going to be too much to kind of do track and football. So this year I'm hoping that we built up a good enough excitement that it becomes a good problem for us to decide how many we are going to keep. But I want to keep everybody that can help us and everybody to get the experience that the girls had last year for sure.
What type of weight training or conditioning do the girls do in the off season?
Oh, it was great. The program the school has, the strength coach has, they do more. It's so different than our days. It's about developing athletes more than it is developing a football player, developing a basketball player. So it's all about body movement, and movement in a agility wise, but also an explosive power movement. So getting them to become more and more athletic, so that power, and you can start to handle the weight. So our girls were learning how to do deadlifts, push presses, all those things. But then looking into the plyometric piece of how to land on one foot correctly, how to leap on, and then we started to get, once they started, because some of them had never trained before. So you don't want to go too fast because you want to make sure you build that good base. But I think this year we're going to find out that a lot of the girls, we can start to go more into position specific, if you will. Even though a lot of it's similar because there is line women, but they can't really block. But most everybody's a receiver, so they got to learn how to cut certain ways. And defensively, everybody's got to learn how to cover more than you got to learn how to fill for the run type deal, if you will.
Gotcha. When did you, this is going a little bit, this is a general question. When did you realize you wanted to coach, whether it's football, boys, boys basketball? When did you know that you really had a inkling to do that?
It's interesting. I think really I realized it when I couldn't play a sport again.
Okay.
When I was done with playing college at Cortland, I came home and we had the youth club program. Back then, Wayne didn't have football, and I played for the club team, even though I went to Williamson. So they had C, B, and A, and then they had what was called double A. So back then, Gates, Spencerport, and Chili, Spencerport, and Wayland didn't have a team. So we would play them 3 times each, total of 6, home and away. And then we would play a team from Canada, either here or there. And so that was still going on at that time. So I came home, the coach, he asked me to do it. And it was my first fall. So I was 22 then. It was my first fall that I wasn't playing since I was 9. And I'm like, yeah, I'll jump at the chance. And after the first couple of times coaching, and my dad had coached me too in football. But when I got done with like the first week, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Because I started to realize how, I'm not just coaching the game, I'm coaching more than that. And it's an interesting question you asked, because we asked our players before our last practice, before our semifinal game this year. And we told them the day before, I want you to think about what is your why. And I think it's important to understand that why as a player. And I'm a firm believer, if I expect a player to do something, I would expect them to expect me to do the same. So I said, listen, I'll kick it off with my why. And my why has changed since the first year I coached. I got into coaching when you said, why did you, or what was it? I got in because I missed playing and I was competitive. But then my why started to change with, I'm competitive, I want to win, this is fun, I have an impact to help somebody be successful to win. But then as I got older, I started to realize I have the power and the impact to change a kid's life through the sport. This year was my first year that on senior night, that the father that came up with the senior was a kid I coached. And he came over and gave me a hug and a shake. And that was pretty cool because, as a dad, how important it is to have a coach. Mm-hmm. That's because for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, I'm hopefully mentoring them the way that the dad would want. And mm-hmm. that hug said to me that I was doing the right thing. So, my why kind of changed, but yeah, I kind of knew when I got into it that, man, this is what I want to do. And because I never thought I was going to be phys ed. I mean, my parents owned a restaurant business. I took 2 years off from high school. I worked for them. All I knew is I wanted to play football in college, but I wasn't big enough. So I wanted to work out for 2 years. Athletic training was what I was originally going into when I went to Finger Lakes College, because I loved training. I loved the body and how it works and learning it. When I got to Cortland, I couldn't play football and do that because of the amount of internship hours. So then I switched into phys ed, and that was the best move I ever made. I get to play games all day, mm-hmm. Mentor kids all day, and then I get to act like a boy, I guess, if you will, coaching, mm-hmm. while trying to turn boys into men.
Wow, that's interesting the way you put that.
Yeah, so it's definitely been enjoyable experience.
You talked about what is your why, and then on senior night you shook a hand and hugged a guy who you coached. Do you ever want to reflect on an experience where you feel like you might have lost a kid? I know that's kind of hard to think about, because I think about those times.
So pretty deep. I run a program called Program 58, and 58's in reference to a number of a player who overdosed. Mm-hmm. And coaching long enough, unfortunately, I've had some young men who have passed away. Tyler Graham, who we hand out the Playmaker Award, like our banquet's tomorrow. So Playmaker Award, we give out $250 scholarship and a plaque in honor of Tyler. He was a model look with a Division I ability. Mm-hmm. He ended up in a motorcycle accident in Florida. And Kyle Savory, who was diagnosed with cancer when he went to get a physical, he was in some pain for his modified to play football. And he was diagnosed with cancer then. He ends up beating it, and come a senior year, it came full circle. And unfortunately, he passed in 2013. And so we give out a state gold, and he was known for state gold. And nothing ever faced him. It didn't matter how rough his day was. Stay golden, Wayne. That was his theme. So we give out a $500 scholarship for him. But Brandon Sills, number 58, he was our heart and soul on the line. He helped take us to the finals in 2013. And when he overdosed, and he had his ups and downs throughout his career of choices and the mentoring piece of that. And when he overdosed in the park in our town, the principal and I got together, and I said, I don't want to lose sight of honoring his memory, but I think we need to come up with something that's got to be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened on a Sunday. Friday morning that week, and his younger brother was on our JV team. We had a big game against Newark. We met in the auditorium in the high school. Mom and Dad came in. The brother was in. We had the whole program. We handed the parents a football that was signed. And that was probably the strongest woman I knew at that point. She said, he would want you to play.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to play. But if you want to come to the service, you can. And so we talked to the players. So I talked to Newark. I said, can we move the game a little bit later? So the guys that want to honor and do that, feel free. And so in my program 58, I go and speak to our middle school students during October, during the drug-free week. And I speak to them about making healthy choices. I have a huge PowerPoint. I get them to know, and I do it in the health class with the same teacher that he had. And as a kid, I know when a speaker would come in and he's like, yeah, I understand. We all know drugs are bad,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no connection.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids that were in there could see them wearing a modified jersey that maybe their buddy wears.
Mm-hmm.
They could see him in pictures on the same field. And that night, Brandon would always wear, he was a big Vikings fan. So on Monday, he would always wear his Vikings jersey. And I said, that's when he knew they won. So I literally say in my presentation, and I apologize for going deep on this, but
No.
I say, when's the last time I saw him wear it was on a Thursday? Why would it be a Thursday when he always won? And most kids like, on a Friday. And most kids like, because Thursday night game. I said, good thought. I said, no, the last time I saw him wear that jersey was in his coffin.
Mm-hmm.
And it really hits homes with the kids. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell them I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Because I told them the reason why I say that to you guys, because that moment made me realize I, as a coach, never want to go through that again. I never want a family to go through that. I don't want community to go through that, teammates to go through that. And that night when we had our pregame ceremonies, I had talked to Newark, and Coach McGavis is a class act. I asked him if he could release a certain color balloon. So we had yellow and purple to release for the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
So we had navy and yellow. And that was a moment I'll never forget. And, a lot of people say, man, I would never want to remember that. But I remember it because I want to use it as a tool to make sure we never, because you and I know, like in my day, drinking was probably the only thing that was available.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the drugs back then were marijuana and cigarettes. Cigarettes were really the thing. If
Mm-hmm.
marijuana felt like if you knew somebody that had a car to go to 5 towns over, maybe you could get it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, with vapes and everything these kids have, they can walk down the hallway
Mm-hmm.
in any building. They have so much more pressure than we ever had in the social media, the bullying, and all those things that lead to that mental health piece. I think it's important that we continue with the program 58. I always text his brother and mom and dad right after I get done and just, let them know that, that you're always in my mind. And it's a special program to me. It's unfortunate that I have to do that program. But, I hope those presentations and the things we do as coaches help to guide the kids, because, to me, the measures, we talk about Braden, it's great. All those guys that go Division I are coaching at the level, or I've got past players that are coaching in Georgia and on ESPN, and all that's awesome. But to see them with their kids
Mm-hmm.
and see them be successful, to me, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about for sure.
Well, it's so nice you bring in about that program 58. I didn't know much about it. Do you think that it was just thrust upon you, or do you think you always had it internally to handle a situation like that?
It's interesting you say that. I wasn't perfect when I was in school. I
None of
remember,
us are.
and I think that's what makes me a good coach, because of the fact that I can connect with kids, because that was me.
Mm-hmm.
That was me that didn't listen to teacher all the time. I remember it like it was yesterday. Back then you couldn't play tackle football till you're 9.
Right.
And I remember Coach Van Son, who was a state trooper. He was the head team coach. And my parents, and I know to this day, my parents knew that they weren't going to let me. They weren't going to let me not play. But they said, we're going up to coach, and we told you another issue in school. And this is me at 9. You're telling coach that you can't play anymore. And boy, I was shaking all the way to practice in the back seat. And I had to get out. And then coach said, you can go sit back in the car. And they talked out beside me. And of course, that's windows when you're rolling up and down. It's not pushing down.
Right.
So I couldn't quietly put that window down. And coach came back, opened the door, said, son, get out there and get warming up. Don't worry, we'll handle them.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of strayed me. And I wasn't perfect through, my rest of my years, but I realized how impactful sports were me, because I was a 3-sport athlete, baseball, basketball, and football. And nothing was travel like it is now. Like I did spend a lot of time in the off season for football with lifting and going to camps and stuff more than others. We had some tournaments in basketball in the spring and summer, but sports really kept me in the straight and narrow. And I saw so many of my other friends that were so much more gifted than me that I had to work so hard to get to that point. I think that's what's made me a better coach, because from an X's and O's and physical skills, I know how to kind of maximize players' potentials, because I know what it took to get me there. But I also know that I just see it through a different lens. And I think some of the best coaches are the best teachers, the best educators,
Mm-hmm.
the best parents of these kids, because, some of them just don't have the structure that they need. And the sports is that structure. And I think I was thrown into it, but I think I was thrown into it. I've always been a big believer that, you don't get nothing's given to you that you can't handle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I always try to take a quote unquote crisis and turn it into something positive. And that crisis, if you will, with Brandon in that situation, I think has made our program, our kids, I think it's made me a better educator, better coach, because of, man, outside these lines, do I really know what's going on? And you help to hopefully guide them. So, they think about that time when, if coach was next to me,
right?
Should I do this? Nope. Okay. So, yeah, definitely.
Where were you born?
I was actually, I was born and raised in Williamson, although my mother was visiting my grandmother in Johnson City. So I was actually born in Johnson City Hospital.
Okay.
But, my mom.
Tell me a little bit about your folks.
Yeah. So my mom grew up in Johnson City. My dad grew up in Binghamton. And once they met, my dad was big into the restaurant business, and he wanted to go off on his own. And the Red Lion was the big restaurant, which is sort of like what Scotch and Sirloin is out this way back in those days in the 60s and 70s. So he drove out this way and started a restaurant, Beefsteak Mining Company in Corner Ridge and Hudson and in Irondequoit. And he opened that up in 69, closed about 2000. But my daughter, who's 4 years older, and my sister, who's 4 years older than me, when it was time for her to go to go to elementary school, my parents moved out to Williamson. And kind of the rest is history. I kind of grew up. My first job was sweeping peanuts at the restaurant on Saturdays. But I learned a lot about because the restaurant business, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. But I knew I also wanted to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad, I just watched him and my mom and how they treated people. And the restaurant wasn't just come in and eat. It was like a family atmosphere. And he had waiters and waitresses, because that business is so tough, right? Because most people are just make enough money so they can get couch, make enough money so they can get we had people that were retired, people who were done with college that would come back. He had waiters and waitresses and cooks that were there 20 of those 30 years.
Wow.
And to me, it spoke volumes for the type of people they were. And I used a lot of how he managed the restaurant how to manage a sports team, how to manage a classroom. And it really comes down to like, how do you treat people? How do you want to be treated? But how to be firm at the same, it's that fine line. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. My dad didn't realize it until, near the end of the restaurant. You grow up and you assume everything was perfect, but he had some failures. He went to Colgate with his brother and played college ball. And he wanted to be an English teacher, and he was great at writing. He's brilliant minded, but his passion wasn't school. His passion was getting into the restaurant business. And my mom was a great people person, so she fit right well into that position. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
You said you swept peanuts. How high up on the restaurant ladder did you go with jobs there?
So I ended up managing, closing manager at times. So I did everything and anything. Went from the peanuts to the busboy to the dishwasher, back to the busboy to the waiter to the host to the bartender. Back then it was minimum wage was, I think, $6.75.
I didn't hear cooking any of that.
I did cook. Okay. I did cook. I did fry cook more because Jen will tell you I wasn't a very good cook. I could do some chicken wings with the best of them. So, yeah, it was funny. Your ultimate goal was to become a bartender because you got your $6 minimum wage and you got tips. Like that was big. You know what I mean? And now these kids get like $18 minimum wage.
Exactly. Now, 31 years, it's pretty long to own a restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah, it really was. And it was them, Star Market, and an AutoZone were the first original buildings in there.
Okay.
And since he retired in 2000, I think that place has turned over probably 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
And it just got to the point where, and now mind you, that was the original one. Then he had one in Pittsford, and then he had one in Syracuse, and he had a bunch of different partners. And for lack of other words, it just didn't work out with them. So he just kept this one because that was the one that was more consistent. And as the time went, because back in those days, people would go out for dinner for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
They would have a coffee. They would have a dessert. Like we would serve warm bread. Then they would have a salad or a soup. Then they would have their main entree. Then they would wait another half an hour and have their dessert. Then it would have the after dinner drink. So it was very long. And then all of a sudden it became the salad bar theme came into place. So we added the salad bar. Then people were in and out. And then Kodak was a big lunch people for them. When Kodak started making major cuts, lunches started to go down a little bit. But then banquet halls became popular. So PIP Printing, which was the business right next to it, when they went out, they rented them out, and then they did a banquet. And it just got to the point where it was like almost they weren't. It's one of those businesses like you can't get away because the mice will play type deal. Right. And I remember my dad, we would be on a trip in Florida, and he would be on a payphone because there was no cell phones, called to find out what's going on. And that payphone, he was putting quarters in and quarters in and quarters in because he was trying to correct all the issues that were happening. And so, but you would never know he was stressed. So he showed me a lot on how to manage pressure and stress. And one of the things I'll never forget, my dad said to me in related to coaching and the business was, my first year, I had a bunch of kids quit because character was a big thing, and even some of our best players. And a lot of people didn't support what I was doing because I was changing too fast. But I knew where we were going to go with it. And my dad said, "You can't please everybody, and develop thick skin, or you can't coach because you can't do it if you're going to try to please people." And I still like to please people, but I start to realize that just believe in what you're doing for kids is really the main thing. And that's kind of how he ran the restaurant. Like, he's going to please the customers. He's going to do that. But he also had a great deal of taking care of his employees while they were there so long, as well as, hey, you're late next time, type deal. So it was that respect issue. But, going all over the place in that business was pretty neat.
I never knew that's where you came from. Already covered about playing sports in college. Talk to me a little bit about your family, your wife, and your kids.
Well, I couldn't be doing the amount of coaching if it wasn't for their support. Jen hardly ever says no to me. She's my biggest supporter. First of all, I know she runs the house every day of the week anyways, and is in charge of the house every day of the, but when it comes to any season, especially football, because it's such a grind of a season, I mean, she does everything and anything. I mean, I call her MacGyver because she knows how to fix things, and she's not afraid to look it up and do it. And her support has been unbelievable. I always say a good coach isn't good unless they have a great support system, and she's my rock with that. Megan and Andrew have been tremendously supportive, especially when I'm in Wayne teaching and coaching, and then eventually starting to coach out this way. I'm dealing with a lot of other people's kids, sometimes more than I'm dealing with my kids, right? And the unique kind of cool thing was being able to have the experience to coach my kids too. But there's plenty of times that I wasn't able to do that. But they supported me. And the biggest thing I loved how they supported me was the fact that they knew if I was coaching them in basketball, baseball, soccer, or football, or flag football, they knew as soon as practice started or game started, they were so mature on knowing he's coach and not dad. And they didn't abuse that position. Maybe at home we had different conversations, but it was challenging at times. But they grew tremendously from that, because the reality is when they get a job, just because you know somebody doesn't mean they're going to take care of you the way you want to. You still got to do what you need to do. And their support let me do what I want to do, but also supporting me as their coach when I was their coach. And, Jen's support is awesome. Awesome.
She was quite an athlete in her day too, wasn't she?
She was a soccer player, cross country runner. Yeah. She's probably faster than me.
As I see when she comes to the game, she has that eye of the tiger on her too. So.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what Andrew's up to these days.
So Andrew's at St. Bonaventure. He is in his junior year. And I think I mentioned to you, good thing he has grades better than me. So now he's going to graduate a little bit early. But believe it or not, he's kind of found my footsteps, I guess, if you will. He's in phys ed and coaching. He wanted to go into sports analytics because he's brilliant with math and loves sports. And they were going to meld it at St. Bonaventure with sports management and business analytics. But the summer before, Coach Prince had him helping him a lot with coaching and doing youth camps. And remember Andrew coming home like, Dad, I just talked to this kid a couple of times. He can't miss now. He said, I just tweaked his little things. And I said, isn't that cool? He said, yeah. I said, well, wait till you have the power of changing something that affects him outside the court. And I said, that's where you'll fall in love. And he just kept enjoying it. And he would call me and tell me this happened, this. And then he refs a lot now in the summer league games. And so we get to orientation, and he's all set up with his schedule for business analytics and sports management. And Jen and I are sitting at the cafeteria. He walks by. We don't want to be the dorky parents and bother him. And he goes, hey guys, I changed my major, and just kept walking. I said, oh boy. But I knew what it was, and it's great. He sent me some things, and he was at Salamanca High School doing some, not student teaching yet, but some observation classes where he was teaching basketball, wrestling, and like how to roll and deal with just some mechanics of your body. And he showed me a video, and it was a proud moment for Dad to see him twirling the whistle and speaking. It was awesome. It was really, really cool. So he's loving it. He's involved in everything. I like that. One thing I encourage kids all the time, when you get to college, try everything. And he gets involved in every intramural. He usually, now we know where he's sitting at the St. Bonaventure game. So when we go on TV, we can find him. But the first year we would say, what you're wearing, where you're standing, where you're sitting, so we could find him. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting for him.
And then your daughter's a senior. What's her future plans? What's she up to during the year?
She just got accepted to Niagara University, which was her number one choice for nursing.
Nursing?
And she actually, believe it, she wants to be a ER nurse.
Wow.
Which I said, well, you will have no boring days.
Exactly.
For
4
sure.
nights, yeah.
But I tell you, because of COVID, she'll probably make 6 figures. The nurses is such a great field to get into. And it's a unique field, which I guess I didn't realize until we started researching more because of her wanting to go into it. the amount of different avenues you can go with it. Like you nurse and all of a sudden you're like, I want to go into pediatrics. So you kind of gear yourself there, and you might have to take some different classes or certifications to do that. But you can be urgent care, you could be ER, you can do different things. And she's excited. She did a bunch of college visits, really fell in love with Niagara. The young lady that gave her the tour, because she went to the tour, I couldn't go, it was Jen and her, was actually a Hilton grad who was in a nursing program.
Okay.
So it just kind of felt good for her. And we went up for another visit that was specifically for the nursing program. And she firmed it up and said, yep, this is what I want to do. She had applied, and I think within 2 weeks she got her acceptance letter. And we talk about when the girls are emotional after a season, like that they felt it.
Sure.
And when Megan opened the thing and we videoed, of course, she started crying when she started to read it. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So she's excited to go there.
Well, congratulations on that too.
Yeah.
I'm both going to be out of the house, and
it's crazy.
Talk to me a little bit about the business that you started.
So NYS Elite Athletics, or New York State Elite Athletics, really kind of started it back in 2017. Andrew was 7th and 8th grade. Braden, who I talked about, our quarterback, he had to go to Ohio. He had to go to all these different colleges just to get looks. And I felt like he was a scholarship kid. 6'4", 220, like could throw the ball everywhere. He was the best quarterback at that time in Section 5. And I felt like, gosh, there's something we're not doing right. We've got some great, he's not the only one. We had some great talents in our own backyard in every school. And I just felt like, why are we not getting the recruits that we should get? Why are we not getting the colleges? And in some aspects, I've always been, if you're great, the coaches will find you, right? But I feel like it's our job as coaches to help them. So through that process, and then Andrew just getting into football, there was no 7-on-7 leagues around here. So I said, well, I'm going to start a 7-on-7 league for the 5th and 6th grade. So we had 6 teams, but I said, all right, I want to promote it with running a skills camp. How am I going to do that? I'm going to run a skills camp at Total Sports Experience. I'm going to bring in college coaches so we can connect colleges with players. And I'll also bring in some high school coaching. We'll do 2 different sessions. We'll do a kindergarten through 7th grade, then an 8th grade through 12th grade. And it took off. And talking to the college coach and the high school coach, he's like, we need more of this. And then I went from, and I just kind of developed that. I talked to George Giordano because he had run a bunch of camps and stuff. And originally it was going to be called New York State Elite 7-on-7. And he said, don't handcuff yourself to that because maybe it'll be something different. And so I came up with that name, and talking to the college coaches, like, this is what we need for the kids to get. He says, we can't see kids as much. And then the high school coach is like, this is great. We can get these. So it just kind of took off, and then I developed a website, and now social media, Twitter and Instagram. And now we're in our 7th year, and we went from just a skills camp to now I run a skills camp. I run a coaches clinic. I run a 7-on-7 tournament this year. This past summer, we added a girls 7-on-7 tournament. I run a showcase and college fair, which is always run the Sunday right after Thanksgiving. So that'll be coming. I've got 31 college programs that'll be there.
That's excellent.
And it's awesome. And we're to the point where there's over 250 kids now that are in the college level playing. Nathan Carter, my buddy, and I grew up together in Williamson. His son, he was a all-star running back for Coach Gauze at Bishop Kearney. He's the captain and starting running back for Michigan State. So wow. He came to our first showcase. Now, was it our showcase that got him noticed? Probably not, but his name was out there. And then he connected with Coach Vidicor, and he ran a 40 time there, and then everything went through the roof. And now we've got kids playing at Central Michigan. There's UB has picked up a bunch of kids. So we've got anything from Division I at that Michigan State level and Penn State and Syracuse, all the way down to JUCO schools that come. And now sprint football is big, which I don't know if you know about sprint football.
I don't.
So what it is, it's Mansfield has it, Cornell has it, and a bunch of other schools, but it's a maximum weight limit. And I'm not sure on the exact weight limit. Say it's 175. My modified head coach played for Coach Evans at Mansfield. and they go play Army in their field, but it's the Army sprint. They go play. I think it's they play Cornell. There's a bunch of other big schools, but it's football, but at a maximum weight limit.
Gotcha.
So it's really neat. It gives these kids that are small an opportunity to play, but they come and they recruit a ton of kids.
No kidding.
That's been awesome. Our coaches clinic has really been great. I think football's such a fraternity, so just getting coaches to kind of see everybody in different settings has been awesome. And now coaching girls flag football, I'm firming up the date tomorrow, but I've reached out to some college coaches, flag girls in Buffalo, one down in Long Island, and we're going to have them come up and run a skills camp, because you're going to start to see girls getting recruited and scholarships for it. And I want to create that platform. I've always been a firm believer, if I expect 2, 3, 4 years of hard work out of these girls or these boys, like, the least I can do is help them to the next level. To me, it's a win-win. I think it's kind of a way of thanking them. But it's also a way of the younger kids seeing, wow, I got a superstar that's playing at the next level, and they came from your program, or our program, I guess you could say, is exciting. So I think the girls is going to take off even more with that. So
yeah, you beat me to the next question. Where do you see flag football going? You've won a bunch of awards. Could you bring some to me? Like, I know the Bills organization recognize you, and don't be shy.
Sure.
Some of the
well,
Section 5
it's tough sometimes, because really it's great to see received awards, but obviously I couldn't do it without great coaches that make me look smarter, and great players that make me look smarter, and obviously support of our family. But I was lucky enough to win 3 times Buffalo Bills Coach of the Week. You get recognized at halftime of a game and get a nice award, and they take care of you. So that was pretty special, especially because they only choose one Section 5 coach. And there's some unbelievable coaches. So for me to be even in the same breath is great. Was able to win Coach of the Year in our league a couple times for football. A couple of the ones that really stick out to me, they're really important. I won the Officials Award early on. And that was pretty special to me, because that means they see a lot in me and respect what I do and what I stand for. The other one is Compeer, which is the Compeer Coach of the Year Award. And this one was bigger than I even imagined. When they came to give me the award, I didn't realize how big it was. And what it is, it's an award given out to any male or female coach from modified all the way up in any sport in Section 5. And only one gets it. And so I got that in 2018. And 2017. And that was pretty special. I was in the room with some people that I don't think I'll make that much money in a lifetime. But it was neat. And what was really, really cool is the special guest speaker was Jim Kelly there.
Oh, nice.
And so I was able to get a picture with him. He handed me the award. And he was kind of my childhood. I actually went to a football camp when I was, I think, 13, and him and Dan Marino were there. And they were actually tossing us for distance into the pool, so you could toss each other farther. So I always looked up to him, at being a Bills fan too. And so that was a real, real special one, because that's just not about the X's and O's or what you do as far as success. Is about what you are as a person and what you do. And they did a video of it, and it's on the website, and it's kind of neat, because what the player said, I had no idea until I watched the video at that Compeer, because he said, I got a video for you, we're going to put it up. And to hear my dad speak, who's now passed, and to hear my players talk about, like, he cares more about us as people than what we do as a skill set. It's great to hear, because that's really what it's about as a coach. So that was a special one to me, for sure.
Well, the first time I ever ran across you was when my son played for you for Hilton Raiders. And as a dad, and your kid's playing that first year of contact sports, you're a little nervous, whether how tough you think he is. And my wife and I just had so much confidence in you. We watched, you go to the first few practices, and the enthusiasm you brought. And I guess from a dad's point of view, when you trust the person who's coaching your son, like, to me, that's huge, and nothing could take you away from that. And it was an exciting year. Talk to us a little bit about that year, because you took it all the way too.
That goes down as one of my most favorite coaching experiences. It was, in that year, 2013, we made it to the sectional finals for the first time ever at Wayne. And we were lucky enough to win it all and go 9-0 with C team. And I remember getting done with my Wayne practice at 5:00, flying in a car, get to practice. And as exhausted I was, I'd get out of the car and whatever kid would run up to me, "Hey, can you buckle my chin strap?" And I'm like, this is awesome. And it was so special because, and that means a lot to me that you and Carla had that faith in me, because I know, and that's why I got into it, because I love the sport, but I know it's a collision sport, and it's such a challenge. And we started meeting as coaches in May once a week, and because I wanted to set everybody up for success, and I want us to all realize why we're doing this. We're not doing this because we played the game. We're not doing this because we want to win. We were lucky enough to go undefeated. We had the unique experience to have our first game against a Wayne team, and that was probably the most pressure I ever felt, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, if we beat these guys really bad, they're going to say, wait a minute, he's beating his own team that he would recruit. Why would I want my player? If we lose to him, they're going to be like, how's he going to coach these guys when they get older?
Right.
So,
right.
And it came down to the last second, and I think it was Cody Cavuto who had the interception at the end, and that kind of set the tone, and it was a blast. And now to see these kids are 20 now, it was so exciting. It was a special, and a lot of the songs that were out then, that the Boys of Fall, I think, had just came out, and whoever would play the music at our home games, when I hear that song, it takes me right back.
Takes you back, right?
Oh my goodness, it does. And I remember we lost the sectional finals at Wayne, and it was the same day as our banquet. And I think Jen and I were like, well, you're going to go with your team? No, I'm going to the banquet. Like, because it was important for those kids to know that I was there. And that was a special, fun season for sure.
And I just remember at the end of the games, I think Jen, your wife, did it first. All the parents would put their arms up.
Oh, yep. A little tunnel.
Run out. And Jason Milner, when he blew out his knee.
Oh my God. So he blew his Achilles tendon, and we videoed all our games, and we showed it. And I think we talked about it, but I remember showing it to him in slow motion, because I don't think we had cell phones to share it. And it was after the game, and he jumped up in excitement, and then he goes there. And I remember us all cheering, and like, something's wrong, Coach Milner. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I think he blew his Achilles. I said, wait a minute. Why? How?
And you would always address the parents, and then I look over, and there's like, I don't know, Mr. Feedy and somebody else that are picking him up, and they're carrying him over to the tunnel. It was a great moment, a great season, and it was just a great way to start children and youth football and football in general.
If I can go back to that, what's really interesting in that is Coach Lapani, who they just finished, I think, was it 2 years ago, and they went the farthest they ever did. 90% of those kids were on that T team, and I remember
Carl Coons, Feedy.
It was awesome to see that. Yeah. That to me was like, because I've always been, and when I have my youth clinics, and when we have our, at our coaches clinic, where youth coaches will come in too. To me, the measure of success as a youth coach in any sport is how many of your kids are still playing the game when they're in high school, because that means you set the love for it. Mm-hmm. And I think almost 99% of them, the kids that didn't, only because they became better at a different sport, were still playing. So that was kind of cool to see all those kids, Carl Coons, Michael, all those guys. It was pretty neat. It was pretty neat.
Now, you're moving on in years. Have you thought about retirement, or do you ever talk about it with your wife? She told me off air that thinking maybe a couple more years, or.
Yeah. So 54 now. I will have my 30 years in 57. So technically, I will have my 30 years, 2 years from February, I think 7th. But I would finish the year out. And at that point, obviously, hopefully Andrew will have a job. Megan will have a couple years left in college. So who knows where finances are for that. But,
Right.
I want to enjoy my life. It's been a long, great run. I'm sure I'll be involved, whether it's with my camps, coaching. But I wouldn't mind just coaching and not have to be the head coach, right? Just
Gotcha.
be able to just work with the kids and not deal with all the extra stuff managing off the field, if you will. So I still have the energy I feel like when I was 25. So I still love what I do, which is great. But definitely, I've already had that online interview with New York State Teacher Rooms Time. What do I got to do for these next 3 years? So I'm definitely planning. I've got some bucket list stuff. So life's too short. So I need to be mindful of, sometimes I never give myself a chance to rest, and sometimes not doing something is okay.
Well, you said bucket list. Give me 3 items if you got 3 items on your bucket list.
I would like to go to every NFL stadium and see a game. Preferably trying to at least follow the Bills to each one of them. That's definitely one. The other thing I would like to do is to get some type of mobile drivable home, whether it's a van version or whatever, and just kind of travel. And not, have an idea of some spots where we want to stop, but just be able to not have a timetable and go out west and see things that maybe I saw when I was 10 that I didn't appreciate, type deal.
Right.
But the other is I love the change of seasons, but I'm ready to be somewhere during the winter.
Find a warm weather home.
Yeah. So I'd like to be able to be down there and just enjoy time with Jen and try to catch up on the times we haven't, given the fact amount of times that I've been away coaching. So
give her back those years.
Yes, for sure.
So I know the Bills are your favorite team. Any other favorite sports teams that you have?
Bills really are. Younger growing up, the Yankees were. I just kind of lost. I coached baseball for a while, but I just never really followed them as much. The Bulls back when Jordan was playing, I was a big Jordan fan, but really the Bills are my favorite. And sometimes when I hoot and holler at the TV, my wife probably couldn't handle me watching any other team.
Now, you said you're not a great cook. Do you have a great favorite food?
I would say anything that's got salt in it is probably bad, but it's good.
It's good.
Now, pizza I love. Tacos, those are my two right up the top. Obviously, fat-free ones, of course.
Do you, when you sit down, is there any TV show that you enjoy or any show that you binge watch or anything?
I know Survivor's one that we try to catch up. There's a lot more reality, but the ones that I'm into now are Tulsa King, Stallone. He's got Stallone. You got to watch that a little bit. That's the series I like. And Mayor Kingstown is a good one. But now I'm starting to feel like at times I feel like my dad sometimes. I'm starting to watch some of the documentaries on different things, which is kind of neat because you start to appreciate and learn things. Like I watched the one documentary on Blockbuster and the whole process of that was unreal, and how like now looking at it, it's like Netflix wanted to buy them out and they didn't. Like it's just interesting. There was another documentary I was looking at on it was video games, just how the video games changed and how like the game. This is interesting. The game of Pong. Remember that little dot?
Sure do.
So they didn't want to put it on the market because there was a glitch. They couldn't get the paddle all the way up to the top. So if you remember when you played that, it couldn't stop it. And they said, we just got to get out because there was some other company that felt that was going to beat them to it. They said it was the best move they did because it was challenging. And they realized that's how they need to make games, not to make them so everybody can complete them. If you make them challenging, they'll want more.
No kidding.
And it was really, really interesting. I'm like, man, that's interesting.
Was that Atari?
And I think, yes, it was Atari. You're 100% right.
Oh.
So it was interesting just to see that a simple thing that they didn't want to do it, but they did it, and it was the best move they did. and how they developed games moving forward from that to make them challenging. So,
Are you much of a reader?
it's got a lot of pictures.
Got
You know,
Is
it's
it
something I wish my dad could go through a 400, 500 page book in a day.
Well, you said he went to Colgate and was good with words,
and
right?
loved reading. Andrew loves reading, which is great. Megan loves reading. Jen loves reading. This past last year, I read a couple books and I just enjoy it. I think my problem is I don't know how to relax sometimes, and I need to realize that reading, you can absorb things and you can relax. And so I've always usually have read things if it's for a purpose, trying to learn something. So that's something I like to hope during retirement I take that time to do it. Peg, my mother-in-law, loves to read, and it looks so relaxing. But I know, like I'm like, can I sit that long on the?
Do with the books on tape.
Right.
Hilton's. You made Hilton your home. What is 3 words to describe Hilton for you and your family?
Family, first of all. Family. Man, there's a lot of great words, but I'm trying to relate them to community. And I know family and community go to the same, but there's just so much support of people in general. You know, Megan's going through her health concerns, reaching out. Any families, people are reaching out. Timmy Graziano gets hurt his senior year. The amount of people that stopped over to see him, like that community support is a big word. I mean, when you can go into sports, like the toughness of people, but I don't mean toughness like a tough guy or a tough girl, like the toughness of how resilient people are. You know, growing up, you know, we talked about my parents, but my parents were both heavily into judo.
Oh,
And,
really? That's another.
My dad became a national referee when his knees kept giving out. And Dr. Sheeta, who was his instructor and my instructor, was a professor at Brockport. He was also 1980 Olympic coach. And so he had the Olympians train at Brockport. So when we went out to Alan Coolidge, who won a bronze medal in the Olympics, my dad's knee was blown out by him because he needed a heavyweight to train. My dad trained him. So my dad used to always say when he limped around, this is a gold. That's a bronze medal, right? It's a bronze medal. But the reason why I say that, so I did that from age 5 to 13 till I got into sports. And so we would always go down the parkway and come back from Williamson. So I knew the parkway as the animal road. Because my parents said, we're going to go see the animal road because there was always wild animals you could see. And we would always listen on the way home. Vincent Price's, scary story things on the radio. And so I never really knew much about Hilton, but I knew we would go near it. And when we first started football at Wayne, our first scrimmage in 96 was at Penn Yan, and Hilton's varsity team was there. And we knew there was going to be varsity teams there. Our kids didn't. So when we got off the bus, the first bus they walked off by was the Hilton kids getting off. And this is in 96 when everybody wore neck rolls and everybody wore the big pads, and Hilton has always got big kids. Like, Coach, we. So I always knew how great sports were out here. Yeah. And it's been, Jen grew up out here. So it was foreign to me, but I was accepted in coaching as a parent in here like I grew up here. It's awesome. I missed out what it was all those years driving back and forth, and I'm glad that I was able. Obviously had an awesome growing up in Williamson, but I love the town and the community and everything about it. It's awesome.
A couple more questions. If you could have dinner with 3 people from history, who would it be?
History.
Or just one. Could be familial, relative, could be sports related, history related.
I would like to meet my dad's, I think it's his, well, there's 2. I think it would be my 3rd grade. White was the last name, and he made White's Utica, all those ceramic things. And my other dad's grandfather, who was a pole vaulter at Colgate, and my uncle sent pictures, and he's got a wooden stick. It's a black and white picture. The shorts are up to here, obviously. And he's going over, and what's he landing in? Sawdust.
No kidding.
It's on gravel. Like that. That's a whole different world. Like
Sure.
what they and I don't even know what kind of footwear that had to feel like, because they didn't have the support in the insoles like all these sneakers and cleats have now.
Right.
I think that would have been very, very cool. My dad actually, when he played high school football, he played Elmira, which Gail Sayers, I believe.
Yeah, I remember. Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I think he was a senior when my dad was a freshman. I would have liked to have met him because of the challenges as an African American man he must have went through,
Mm-hmm.
and that story, and it's a movie, right? But how
Brian
much of those
Piccolo,
things-
Brian's song, and all
Yep.
that. Yeah. No.
Yeah, very, very. Yeah, I think those are the ones that kind of stick out right off the top.
And the last one, if you could give advice to a parent who has a child pursuing athletics at a higher level, what would you tell that parent?
If they have a child that's pursuing it,
Because here's the thing: every parent thinks, "Oh, kid's Division I," but it's rare.
right.
Or there's Division II, you got Division III, you got JUCO. There's a lot of. What would you tell that parent?
My biggest thing is, if they're successful in a sport, use that sport as a vehicle to set yourself up for a positive career. Don't use that as your number one driving goal, because you're going to set yourself up for failure. The only way you're going to be successful is if you get a full scholarship and you're starting every play.
Right.
Chance of that happening or not. Not to mention an injury piece.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell our kids and the families that we go through the recruiting process with, if you got hurt tomorrow, is this the school you still want to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're like, I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the environment that is. It's not in the middle of nowhere, but I like to coach. So I think just take advantage, like you were given God's skill ability, and with your work ethic, it's gotten you in a position to be looked at for colleges. Continue to use that as the vehicle to help save you money academically, help guide you, because some of the most successful, I think, people have been involved in sports, but not all the most Division I athletes have always been successful in a career.
Exactly.
So I think that would be something. And, before they even realize what they are, let the kid just be a kid,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the sports, and at a young age, let them try everything. They'll find out what they like. And it's okay for them to say, I'm going to try this or I'm going to try that. And not put the pressure, because the amount of travel sports these kids, like Andrew and Megan on one summer played more travel basketball than I played in my whole high school career. Right. And, like Mallory's unbelievably successful, but a lot of it is because of who you and Carla are, like the support you have for her. And you just hey, you want to go? Yep, we'll support you. We'll take you here. You want to go there? We'll take you there. But it's not like, hey, you got to do this, got to do this. And I think sometimes it gets to the point, I'm not saying every parent, but I think some parents get to the point where it's their goal more than it is their kids.
Yes. You got to make them make it their journey.
Yeah. And it is tough as a parent when you're like, they're making a bad choice.
Exactly.
You got to help guide them and hope they learn from that choice. But yeah, I just make sure. Another thing is, I hate to go on with this, but make sure that if there's an issue within the sports process of their kid, make sure the issue is your child's kid and not yours. Because 9 times out of 10, the parent that's upset about something, the kid
couldn't care less.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So, and it's tough. It's tough as a parent, to do that. But I think that would be some things that
maybe you should go into sports consulting. Did you ever think about being an AD?
Well, I did. And I was the interim athletic director 4 different times at Wayne through going various athletic directors. And I enjoyed the couple weeks I was there, but I felt like in just the 2 weeks, I was putting out fires more than I was working with kids.
Right.
I was dealing with parents more than I was working with kids. And to me, I got into coaching to work with kids.
Okay.
And I love working with parents in this booster club and all that stuff. But I want to build those rapports with the kids. And I felt like there's not an opportunity to do that because unfortunately in athletic administration, you're known more for your absence than your presence. Jeff Wheaton does an unbelievable job and he's at everything he can. He's got 2 little kids at home. But God forbid he'll miss something and somebody might say, well, why wasn't he at this one?
Right.
Can't be at 2 places at once. And, I've had the luck to be around some great administrators, but I was heavily that was my master's, concentration in athletic administration. I thought that's where I was going to go. I was asked by my principals to go into administration and, you get to this point, you're like, oh, that'd be great for retirement now. But the amount of experiences I had coaching, I would have never had, and I wouldn't give that up for the world. Because I felt like
wouldn't have gone 9-0 at Hilton Cadet or Hilton Raiders football.
Exactly.
Well, Coach Marean, it really has been a pleasure talking with you. I learned a lot about you, and that's what I like to do with these podcasts. I wish your flag football all the best of luck next year. Also, I wish you good luck at Wayne next year as well.
Thank you.
And I thank you for watching. Be on the lookout for future guests like Hilton cheer coach Shelly Comino, social studies teacher and flag football coach Terry Gilmore, Hilton graduate Luca Dodge, and more. You can follow me on X at Michael Heiss, capital letter 17, Josh Allen's number,
Like it.
And subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.
Thank you.
The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find